The Awake Shop by Rev Skip. Inspiration you can wear. Hats, mugs, hoodies, and tees. Visit theawakeshop.org today.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Live from a secure concrete bunker somewhere in Ohio, New Thought Media Network presents Pastor Michael Mangus with Friday's Fireside Chat, spiritual conversation for today. Here he is from the secret radio room, surrounded by thousands of watts, Pastor Michael Mangus.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. Across the United States and also around the world, it is time once again for another fun-filled, thrill-packed, and guaranteed, always exciting edition of the Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network. I am Pastor Michael Mangus, broadcasting from the secret radio room, surrounded by thousands, and I mean thousands of watts, in a secure concrete bunker somewhere in the Akron, Ohio area. That is so top secret. It requires a high level of security even to get near it. Now, Reverend Robert Brzezinski, our Chief Inspirational Officer, thinks he knows where I'm at, but he has no clue. That's why we do it from the secure concrete bunker. Hey, listen, we have a wonderful show for you this evening. Please feel free to interact with us by posting your comment below on Facebook and also in StreamYard. And for all you shy people out there, would love to hear from you. You can feel free to contact me by email, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. The purpose of our fireside chat is to get real, to talk about contemporary issues from a New Thought spiritual perspective. And as I keep saying week after week, I want us all to have a new thought about what is going on around us. And again, you do not have to agree with me. Now, I know Diego likes to play the disclaimer every single week, and Jay Silvers and I, the professional voice talent, we had a good time making that. However, there's a serious part of that too. These are my viewpoints. These are my opinions. And as they say in the 12-step program, take what you like and leave the rest. So our special guest this evening is a longtime friend, spiritual teacher, meditation practitioner, and author from Naples, Florida. We are so proud to have with us this evening Christina Casciap, whose book, Fed Up to Wonderstruck, you can get on Amazon. We'll be speaking about the book here in just a few moments. We'll be talking with Christina about her spiritual journey and healing, and maybe, just maybe, she'll tell you how we met. So Christina Casciap will be my special guest in the second half of the program this evening. Well, to all of my radio broadcasting friends, a very happy National Radio Day, which was today, August 20th. From nationaltoday.com, we get the following article and facts on why National Radio Day should be a national holiday. By the way, there is a World Radio Day, which is on February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, but we're not there yet. So we'll talk about National Radio Day. From the article, it says, though we typically attribute the invention of the radio to Marconi in the 1890s, the process itself spanned decades, with many scientists making small but significant contributions to the understanding of electromagnetic induction, electric conduction, and also radio waves. For example, Heinrich Rudolf Hertz, megahertz, kilohertz, okay? He discovered the radio waves back in the 1880s, which helped prove a theory of electromagnetism that was put forth by James Clerk in 1783. It took quite a bit of time after the discovery of radio for the technology to be used for communication. And this was both because the inventors had not yet realized the practical and life-changing applications of their development, and because there were many more components needed to transmit and also detect electrical waves. However, Marconi finally figured out a way to communicate with radio long distance, and he takes credit for the invention of what we think of as radio today. Public broadcasting has its own inventor, and that is Lee DeForest. He transmitted the first public radio broadcast, which featured the voices of an opera star in 1910. DeForest Radio Telephone Company went on to manufacture the first commercial radios, which could pick up signals miles away. Now, obviously, radio was huge for music, and it changed the landscape of the industry immediately. News took to radio, as well as announcers could quickly hop on the air to deliver the happenings of the day to a massive audience. The first news program was broadcast on August 31st this month, 1920, out of Detroit, at a station which still survives today. And that is, I think it's 780 WWJ out of Detroit, Michigan. In the early 1920s, radio also began to be used for broadcasting sports, aiding telephone services, and even navigating by airplane. With the digital revolution and the wireless era, radio changed and adapted. Today, though radio is used for a variety of functions, it no longer holds its former top slot in the entertainment and news medium. With the television and also with the internet and more, it's hard for radio to compete in that space, but people still love it. And it doesn't look like radio is going away anytime soon. In fact, we appreciate radio even more these days for its old school vintage. Okay. You would not have cell phones today if it wasn't for radio. So thank you, Mr. Marconi. Thank you for your wonderful invention. Here's some great facts here. I love this quote. This is by NPR producer Ira Glass. He says, in radio, you have two tools, sound and silence. I like that. Here are some facts. More than 2/3 of people surveyed, they listen to radio in their car. Do you? 2 out of 3 people surveyed listen to the radio every day, like I do. Nearly 1 in 2 love to sing along to the radio. And former disc jockeys, 90% of the time, still announce songs in the car up to the post. The post is where they start singing. Okay, I made that up. However, most disc jockeys I know do that in their car. So take your favorite DJ or radio presenter, if you're in the UK, take them to lunch this week. So again, National Radio Day, a happy one to all of my broadcasting friends, some of who watch our program here on the Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network. All right. As I went through the news for this week, most of it focused on COVID-19 again. And the reason I bring it up is because there is so much misinformation out there, especially in religious and spiritual circles. From CNN, and again, I'm not going to read through all of these articles. I'll give you the title, and then you can go on their wonderful website, cnn.com, and get more information. As COVID-19 hospitalizations increase, a greater number of Americans are deciding to get vaccinated. Well, that's good news. He says, with an alarming rate in COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations, more Americans have recently made the decision to get vaccinated in the last 6 weeks. More than 1 million doses of the vaccine were reported administered on Thursday. The new CDC and prevention data shows, marking the first time since early July for the single-day change in the reported doses. The average pace of those initiating vaccine is more than 70% higher than it was 1 month ago. Oklahoma and Louisiana, two states that have lagged the rest of the nation in vaccines, are now outpacing the national average. White House COVID-19 response team chief of staff Asma Mirza said in a call with local faith leaders that we're seeing a new willingness, a new openness to get vaccinated. And the reason being is because people are seeing others go to the hospital, some not returning, and also some faith leaders are starting to come out and say, go get vaccinated. Going on here, it says the boost in vaccinations, however, come as more healthcare systems are reportedly increasing a very dire situation with an influx of patients flooding waiting rooms due to the large spread of the more infectious Delta variant. This is not an adult disease anymore. This is from the CNN article. It says, with school back in session, local officials are faced with deciding whether to mandate masks in the classroom, plus the day-to-day challenges of quarantining students exposed to COVID-19. And the legal battles over mask mandates continued Thursday in Texas as the state Supreme Court refused Governor Abbott's request to quickly intervene over some local jurisdictions' decision to require masks in schools. Dr. Sarah Cross, who is a member of the COVID-19 task force for the Tennessee governor and an infectious disease specialist at UT, the University of Tennessee, says ban on masks mandates would have catastrophic consequences for those in the classroom. When one child doesn't wear a mask, it doesn't only affect that child, it affects the entire class. It affects teachers, and we just had a teacher in the Memphis area, a 31-year-old woman, die of COVID in the past few days, acquiring it in the classroom. We can't handle what we're seeing, Cross said. We are estimating that the number of cases in Tennessee will increase sixfold by the end of September if we don't take measures to mitigate the spread. This is not an adult disease anymore, Cross said, saying that the pediatric hospital in downtown Memphis currently has at least 9 children in the ICU from COVID-19. And at least 15 states have temporarily or indefinitely required K through 12 students to wear masks in schools, according to a CNN analysis, with some providing exceptions, and that includes California, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Kentucky, Louisiana, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Virginia, and Washington. All right, so that's story number one. Story number two. Now, this week, one of my friends on Facebook points to this database to show that the vaccine is toxic. And this is from a credible news source in NPR National Public Radio. It says that anti-vaccine activists use a federal database to spread fear about the COVID vaccines. Solid research has found the vaccines authorized for use against COVID-19 to be safe and effective. But some anti-vaccine activists are mischaracterizing government data to imply that the jabs are dangerous. And again, I'll briefly go through this article. It says the largest database for detecting events that might be vaccine side effects is being used by activists like my friend on Facebook to spread disinformation about COVID-19 vaccines. Known as the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, or VAXERS, the database includes hundreds of thousands of reports of health events that occurred minutes, hours, or days after vaccination. Many of the reported events are coincidental. Things happen by chance, not caused by the shot. But when millions of people are vaccinated within a short period of time, the total number of these reported evidence look big. I'm going to let you read through that article on NPR if you would like. The challenge with that database is this. A lot of people, again, did get vaccinated. They have vaccinated well over 300 million people. And what they're saying is that there are 50,000 people who were affected or died from the vaccine. Now, what the data does not show is that some of these people were sick already. So it doesn't show that the vaccine itself caused the person's demise. The problem, Saeed Omar, who is the director of the Yale Institute for Global Health, is that many of these deaths in the Vaxxers database were caused by other illnesses that happened around the same time as the immunization, and it has nothing to do with the vaccine. Vaccines decrease your risk of COVID-19. They don't make you immortal. In fact, COVID-19 vaccines were first given to some of the oldest and sickest people in America, and the risk from dying from COVID was high, but the risks of mortality due to other causes was also high, and in fact, very high. He says that it's not surprising that after administering many millions of doses, a few thousand might coincidentally die soon after getting the vaccine. Vaxxers is where that data is recorded, and the anti-vaccine campaigners then cite the number of people as killed by the vaccine. Again, that's not true. Meanwhile, Dr. Omar and his colleagues have done their own analysis and found that the vaccines are saving quite a few people's lives. And we've showed that there is a 99% reduction in the mortality rate after 2 doses and a 64% reduction in mortality even after 1 dose. That's story number 2. If you're wondering what you've stumbled onto this evening, hi there. This is a Friday evening fireside chat here on the New Thought Media Network. We are currently going through the news. And again, I'm not going to read through this article from CNN, but I am going to highlight some points. This is by Dr. Sanjay Gupta, their medical expert. And Dr. Gupta has been right on about this whole pandemic. And he says that as we prepare to head into our second fall with the coronavirus, it is admittedly a strange time. On one hand, the situation is better than last year, primarily because we have vaccines that are doing a terrific job of protecting roughly 60% of the Americans who are eligible and fully vaccinated. And to some extent, the additional 10% who have gotten their first dose. But things are also worse mainly because of the very contagious and possibly more dangerous Delta variant, currently making up around 99% of the coronavirus in circulation here in the US. So what they're saying is this: we're not going to be able to stamp out COVID-19. We're going to have to learn how to dance with it. And some of the things that they're recommending are, first of all, vaccines. He says we need to get as many people vaccinated as possible. I know kids 12 and under can't get vaccinated, but that is where everyone else around them is vaccinated, and it helps to protect them too. But that's the first thing. So one of the other things that they're recommending is this: you keep the mask around like an umbrella. It says among our experts, masking up was almost seen as important as getting everyone vaccinated, especially with the Delta variant. Unlike earlier variants of the corona vaccine or the coronavirus, Delta has been shown to exist in the nose and upper throat of infected people, vaccinated or not, and in almost equal amounts, even though the viral load drops off much more quickly in the vaccinated, according to a yet unpublished study out of Singapore. So again, keep the masks around. If you don't feel safe going into a situation, please mask up. Also, masks plus ventilation also makes for safer schools. So as we are sending the children back to school here, not only masks are being asked for and also mandated in some school systems, but also the ventilation system. Now, they're saying, some of the experts are suggesting that, hey, all you need to do is open the windows. The problem is that in some of these modern buildings, especially around here in the Akron area, that were built over the past 10 years, many of them do not have windows that open up. So again, that more airflow studies need to be done through the building to make sure that everyone is safe. You need to reassess your exposure risk. Given the dominance of the Delta variant, it's time for Americans to reassess and adjust their risks to exposure if necessary, especially if they've eased up on measures in late spring and early summer. Again, great article from CNN. We have to learn how to dance with coronavirus. I'm not saying be afraid here. I'm saying be careful. And as many of my friends, I saw Dr. Paul Getz from City of Light get his booster shot today on Facebook. He said he didn't do it out of fear. He did it to help other people. I saw several articles this week about ministers and cardinals, bishops, right-wing talk show hosts, either fighting for their lives who have died. Also, there are others trying to get a religious exemption from the Catholic Church and also being denied. I also read a story about an Israeli rabbi this week who ordered his followers to get vaccinated, telling someone at a public gathering that they were a heretic. The gentleman went ahead and interrupted this rabbi, and the rabbi banned him from the room. He said, "We have had over 6,000 people here in Israel die." So as I have said over and over and over and over and over and over again, I am supporting you in getting vaccinated. I am not telling you. And the reasons given for not getting vaccinated are based in pure fear and not fact. I've tried to get some of the anti-vaxxers on Facebook who post to show me the evidence And usually the evidence that they show, I can't trace it down. Gayle King said this a couple of weeks ago on CBS This Morning, that getting vaccinated is a personal choice. However, your choice could kill a lot of people by infecting others. Did you know that? Is this what love would do? The vaccine has been proven safe and effective. The only thing missing is the final approval by the FDA, which will be given to the Pfizer vaccine as soon as next week. Now, who's getting infected here? Mostly the unvaccinated. And yes, there are breakthrough infections. I get that. But the individuals who get them, again, are not ending up in the hospital. They're ending up having the flu or something similar to it. Many have denied having COVID even up to the very end in the ICUs. So again, unless you've been told by your doctor not to get vaccinated, I really urge you to please go get the shot or shots. God has given us a way out of this. Let's take the lifeboat out of the pandemic. We also remember the people tonight in Haiti who got hit with the 7.2 Richter scale last week. Please send money, also with your prayers. We're also keeping in prayer what's happening over in Afghanistan right now. We'll talk more about that next week. We who claim the light, especially at this time, we need to not only do our prayer work, but also be the light in our communities of peace and love and joy. All right? All right. I'm 27 after, Diego. He's saying, good. I was going to have to cut you off at 30 after. Well, yours truly is parking himself currently at Summit CSL. For more information, go to summitcsl.org. There you will find more information about our really wonderful Sunday gathering online at 10:30 Eastern and 7:30 Pacific time. Grab your cup of coffee or tea and please join us. I believe that we have one of the best services in New Thought because we have a balance of everything, a balance of music, a balance of meditation, and a balance of message. So the Sunday will continue our series on the spiritual quality of joy with the Summit's music director, John Miller, leading the discussion. So please go on summitcsl.org for more information on how to join our Zoom call. Our service is also simulcast on the Summit Spiritual Center of Akron Facebook page, and our Facebook page also has past broadcasts of that world famous and ever popular Fireside Chat, and when I am praying here on the New Thought Media Network, which is usually in the evenings. So I'm currently open for individual practitioner sessions, also Sunday speaking like I did last Sunday. Thank you to Columbus CSL, and also ceremonies. I do a wonderful wedding. And so just email me at pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com for more information. All right. Again, there are pages and pages and pages of announcements that I could do for the New Thought Media Network, but I'm not going to. Go on our website, ntmedia.org. There you will find a complete schedule of what is going on. We're also adding new programs in a couple of weeks. On Sunday evening, we'll be having the Sunday evening masterclass with my friend, the Reverend Dr. Charlotte Manning. That'll be coming up on Sunday evenings, and we'll have that in 2 weeks on Sunday. Also, lots of other things that we're working on. We're also working on this week, the New Thought radio media feed. We're working on the software for that. Lots of great stuff is happening, and you can be a part of it. Through the internet, we're able to reach the world. And we're asking for your support. If you go to ntmedia.org/support/donate, you will find out more information. Again, you get that double blessing of not only giving, but also knowing that you are helping people around the world. We get reports from Peru, from Canada, from the United Kingdom. We are really making a difference with this network. So if you could go on, again, ntmedia.org/donate, that would greatly be appreciated. All right, we're going to take a break now and come back with my friend Christina. This is the Friday Evening Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
Check it out. Thursdays, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, noon Eastern. A healthy dose of Jersey Girl wisdom. Live with Reb Jersey Girl. Sponsored by New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
The views and opinions expressed by Pastor Michael Mangus are generally right. However, they are his own and do not reflect the views and opinions of New Thought Media Network, Centers for Spiritual Living, or any other person living or dead. As they say in the 12-Step Recovery Program, take what you like and leave the rest. Here again is Pastor Michael.
So I was talking with my friend this week, Christina Kashep, and Spirit said, invite her on your show. So I said, okay, this is her wonderful book, Fed Up to Wonderstruck. And a little bit about my friend. Christina Kashep is a lover of life, truth, and authentic heart connections. She's been studying spirituality and practicing Raja Yoga meditation for the last 18 years. She loves to share what has been the most eye-opening and liberating for her on the path of self-discovery. And though through her down-to-earth approach, she makes spirituality, self-love, and self-empowerment easily accessible. Christina also has a passion for cultivating health, vitality, and wellness. She's also a holistic health coach, a practitioner of polarity therapy, elemental reflexology, and also Reiki. Knowing the importance of nurturing the self on all levels, spiritually, energetically, emotionally, mentally, and physically, she helps to connect the dots of healing for her clients. And she teaches them how to develop more supportive relationships with themselves and others based upon awareness, trust, respect, balance, and love. Christina co-facilitates retreats and workshops that nurture the heart, the mind, the body, and the soul with her wonderful life partner, Vivek, and also with Yolanda Beckers through their various companies, My Present Heart, and the company that works primarily with businesses, that's Encompass Effect. It's really a great honor to have my longtime friend come on this evening, Christina Kashep. Good evening. All right, we can't hear you.
What about
There
now?
you go. You go good.
Okay.
How are you?
Great. Great. So good to see you.
Oh, good. So good to see you. So how did the two of us meet?
Back in 2009, and I think it got started in 2008, maybe the end. We had a mutual friend, Jen, who connected us because I was coming from New York to do a program called Celebrating Human Greatness. And we asked if we could interview you and you could be a part of that. You could be a part of two people being interviewed, in a sense, two spiritual leaders. So you said yes. And that was the first time we met, 2009. And what I felt when I met you was you had this big open heart and you were open to all the spiritual knowledge that felt and rang true to you, and you were unlimited and selfless in that, and that just it formed this instant friendship between us.
Yes, and you taught meditation for many years in Akron. And
Yes.
I will let you tell your story here. So what prompted you to write this wonderful book, which again was one of those that I couldn't put down. So what prompted you to write the book?
I was feeling a call from spirit to write my story for some time. And I actually wrote it once, and I ended up at the very end of that, I was meditating, and this thought came very clearly: start over. So I did. And when that thought came, I got this download. And the download was the outline that the first half was to be my story and the second half was to be for the reader. And so I condensed my story into half of what it was. And really the feeling that came that second time that I wrote it was that this book was to be about the reader developing trust again. And through the first half, they could see how I did that, all the different spiritual elements that recreated trust. Because as a young person, I had some severe tragedy, which eventually I lost trust in God. I lost faith. I lost hope. I lost trust in the universe that it was supporting me. And when you start to lose hope and faith and trust, you also lose direction. And I was feeling that, like, well, what is the point of it all? And all of these things in my life, as they came together to teach me how to trust again and to really feel supported in this universe, that is what gave me direction again. It's what gave me joy again and freedom. So it's really, my story is there, but it's only there as a inspiration because each of us have our own story, which are all equally important. And then the second half of the book is really about the reader in their own unique way, finding their own deeper trust in themselves and in God and the universe.
So how do we lose that trust? What happens? Is it things in childhood? Is it events in our lives? How do we lose that trust in the universe?
I think it's different for everybody. I don't think everybody loses trust. I think some people always have it. But I think for me personally, it was, what I was taught as a child growing up in my faith. At that time, I was Catholic. Nothing against Catholicism, but that's how I grew up. And I was taught that God was responsible for moving all the pieces. He was responsible for birth and death and et cetera, et cetera. So here I was, a young person, and I had all of these people being suddenly and tragically taken out of my life. And I thought, well, what kind of a loving God would do that? So for me, it was a crisis of faith because what I was taught, it wasn't logically making sense with my own experience. And so that whole thing, because what I was taught about God wasn't matching up with what was happening and didn't make sense to me, then it came to that point, well, is anything I was taught true? Is there even a God? And so God having initially in my life been a point of trust, one of the biggest points of trust, that spiraled into, well, what about the universe? What's the point of all of this? Does it make sense? How is God and the universe connected? Is it one or the other? Are they both, there or not there? So not that the universe in a physical sense isn't there, but universe in the metaphysical sense of the universe as an intelligent, creative life force that supports us in our highest well-being. So for me, it was a crisis of faith and a crisis of purpose because of the tragedy, and the tragedy didn't make sense in light of what I had been taught religiously. So there was that whole undoing, in a sense, of my whole framework of how everything made sense. Suddenly it didn't make any sense.
So for those of you who are wondering, this is the Friday evening fireside chat here on the New Thought Media Network. We're talking with my good friend, teacher, meditation instructor, and also author, Christina Kashup, on her wonderful book called Fed Up to Wonderstruck. So how did a nice woman like you end up on the beach at Costa Rica with the towel over your head?
Well, that part was actually in Florida. It was post some of these traumatic things, which I talk about in the book. And it was really losing the matriarchal, the most important, people in my life who were really the ones I looked up to and who were my guiding lights. So after that, I ended up on the beach. I went to sit there on the blanket and kind of meditate as I looked at the water, but I ended up crying so much that I put the blanket, over my head because I didn't want people to see me crying, and I didn't want people to come up to me. It was one of those places where you just feel so sad and so desolate in the sadness that you don't even want anyone to ask you about it, because I didn't really know what even to say, because it was just such a point of brokenness. But I had to hit that bottom, to really start to surrender and ask, just having lost my whole sense of self and security, to then just saying, whatever you are, and if there's anything, show me the way. And what I was really saying was, show me the truth. What does this life mean? And before I could move forward in life, I had to understand what was the purpose of it all, really, and reconstruct that for myself. And at the time, I had a 7-year scholarship in Florida to go through all the way through my master's. And I had done a couple of years of school, but it was like schooling in itself wasn't even important anymore, because if I didn't understand how life worked and the purpose of life, then what was the point of going in a specific direction until I understood that? So that was just that moment of complete bottom and a moment of surrender, realizing that I have no answers and there's no way further. I couldn't go any further down. I was completely hopeless in that moment. So that moment of surrender, that's what that moment was.
So then what happened?
Well, then I started getting what I would call signals or signs from the universe, from God. Little things, like I was recommended the same book within a week by a couple of different people. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Huh?
Which was?
Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda.
Great book.
Yes, great book. And the second time someone said something, I was like, okay, I've never heard of this book, and now another person is telling me to go and get it. So I went and got that, and I started reading it, and it's quite magical, as you know, and talks about these profound spiritual experiences, which I had not had, but I was intrigued. And I felt the truth in what he was saying. And so I started reading that, and then I was already going to some hatha yoga classes, and I had been, which is a physical yoga for exercise. And I had been going to the studio, which was going to have this guy come in who did sound yoga, not a yoga. So the drumming, the chanting, all of that around the same time. And I went to that, and the whole day we did this singing, this chanting. And then at the end, we had to get up and sort of move about the room. And as we were singing, and I remember just for the first time, I felt this sense of weightlessness. I felt this, like I was being moved. I wasn't moving, but I was being moved. So I came into this flow, and all of these little things, like I call them breadcrumbs, slowly, I started having these spiritual experiences until I ended up in Costa Rica, like you said, and I ended up at a meditation with the Brahma Kumaris in the very corner of Costa Rica across from the beach. And when we were meditating, I just felt completely bodiless. And I realized that I was consciousness. And I realized if I'm consciousness and I'm bodiless, well, God could exist too. That's a possibility. But I kept with this mantra inside of myself, whatever you are, if you are, show me the way. And as I talk about in the book, there was this experience after experience showing me I'm spirit, that I'm soul, and that I was being listened to, that I was being heard, and that I was being guided. So in one way, it was really the most profound time in my life because I was waking up to my eternal self. Yeah.
So you spent time with the Brahma Kumaris, you taught Raja Yoga meditation, you did service really all over the world. And then another awakening happened where that you got in touch with some feelings that you thought were gone, but were still there. So talk about your healing from that.
Yes. So I think it was nine years or so into my spiritual journey, I had learned to just fly spiritually. I felt extremely connected to God, so supported by God, the universe, by my spiritual family. I had a sense of, strong self-worth, realizing I was that spiritual being. But the feelings that started to emerge were around my mother's death, especially, which was due to domestic violence, and my aunt's death as well, which was by suicide. So I started to have these things come up, and I thought I had healed this in my process of meditation and counseling years prior, but it wasn't, and it wasn't going away. And so I was at a retreat in New York, and a fellow yogi was there, and we were sitting at a table, and he started telling me about this work he was doing which is heart-centered work. And he was in a 6-year training program with his coach from Europe. And he said, I need to do this with people as practice. And would you like to try it? And I was at that place of really needing to process something in a new way. And so I said, sure. So we went back to our respective places, and we started on, this type of, on a video, doing the work. And it taught me to be really present with what I was feeling and not zoom out from it, not go, into, zoom out from my feelings, but to go right into them. And through being very present with them, with a loving person supporting me, walking me through, I was able to go to the seed, to the root of what was causing the pain and heal it. And so that was a huge thing for me, because I had been relying on my spirituality and my connection with God, thinking that would heal everything in the soul. And of course, that healed me in so many ways. I mean, it elevated my consciousness, and it transformed the whole way I see this entire world. But the feelings that I still had to process that were also affecting my health and well-being, that was something I still needed to tend to with a lot of love. And so that experience taught me that. And that's why I also started shortly before that going back into learning holistic health modalities about 6 months prior, because I was searching for what are the other holistic components that I need to include. And so now, my philosophy is really, and I think, we see a lot of people who are teaching this, and that is, it has to be, you have to heal in all the ways, right? We're a soul, and the soul has a body, so we have to keep that healthy. And the soul has a mind, and so we have to take care of that with love. And we also have emotions, and we have an energy field, right? We are made up of energy. So all these things we have to take care of with a lot of love and care, and not neglect any one area.
Do you think, and we've used the term in Science of Mind and also some Centers for Spiritual Living about the whole idea of the spiritual Band-Aid, that we can use spirituality just to go ahead and to Band-Aid over the wound, and then we're still dealing with the wound. So talk about that.
Oh, yes. I definitely did a spiritual bypass. In the beginning, it would have been almost impossible not to, because I went from this place of wondering what it was all about to realizing I was a soul and that God was there and that we're all these eternal beings of light. So I was just flying. I mean, I was totally zoomed away from the pain of this one lifetime. I was beyond this lifetime in a sense. And I think that anyone who would have met me at that time would have said, whoa, she's like in a different realm, you know. People do remember that way back in 2004. They're like, you were just like somewhere else. And that was a very magical time. But eventually,
All right, we lost connection here.
oops, can you hear me?
Okay, there you go. Okay, we can hear you again. Go ahead.
The real practical application of spirituality I learned later, which is that realizing you're a spirit means that you can deal with the things on the ground in a very practical way with a lot of love. It doesn't mean that we have to go beyond it. And it's interesting, and that's when I really healed. When I used my spirituality and my knowledge of spirit to go in and practically live my life with those virtues and qualities. And that's what real spirituality is, right? And it reminds me of everything you talked about in the beginning with the article on CNN, because we have contact with all different kinds of people. Most of them have the vaccine. Almost all the people in our spiritual circle have had the vaccine, but then we have people who haven't, that we're close to. And we lost Vivek's uncle, who was like a father to him, and we lost his very close friend, who was 43. Both of them have kids. Both of them were young and healthy, no pre-existing. And they both had the Delta variant, and we lost them both in 7 and 10 days from the time they got it to the time they left the body. So we're still dealing with the repercussions of that and trying to help the wives and the kids through it as they deal with that. And I think that it's really important to realize that us understanding we're a soul doesn't mean that we zoom out beyond the world. Sometimes in meditation, we definitely need to go beyond. We definitely need to get the spiritual perspective, and things that seem really big, put them in perspective to what they are. In this moment, it's a crisis, yes. But spirituality also gives us the tools to be able to go in the present moment and say, what makes the most sense right now? Because God, in my understanding, is truth. So we always have to seek out the truth, and that's real spirituality. And so, like, for example, with the COVID thing, and a while back, before we had the deaths in our family and friend, we were debating about the vaccine because, we try to be very holistic and don't get the flu shot because we're younger. We don't really need it yet also, but we were unsure. We had a lot of different people telling us different things. So just like you, we went in, we researched all of these claims. We went back to the original documents. We noticed people were changing them. They were manipulating the information. So we sought out the truth. And by seeking out the truth, we realized we need to get this shot, not just for us, but for the whole of the community. So I feel like spirituality, it strengthens all your good qualities, all your virtues, all the powers in the soul. And one of those is the power to discern and to seek out the truth and to be able to clearly decide not to be fooled by, whatever the media, depending on which media we watch, may or may not be trying to brainwash us. We have to just go and do our own research and see what is the truth and make a decision. And also, spirituality says that we need to take care of each other. So whatever, it's not just about me, whatever is in the interest of the whole, we're also connected, and New Thought teaches that. We're all in this together. So I can't, sit here and continue to do what's only better for myself. And I think when people lose people to COVID, they see it very differently. And we know, as a pastor, that everything is divine and it has a destiny. And so when things happen, we say, well, that's how it was meant to be. But prior to the things happening, if we have a choice to make the right decision, then that's our spiritual and moral obligation to make the right decision for the most people. And I think that all spiritual teachers, Jesus, Buddha, all of them, they made their decisions in a selfless way. So I think in some way we have to understand our own responsibility to truth, and also what is really God's role. God is not there to decide who does and doesn't get COVID, right? We are the ones who have the intellect. We've been given the choice to look at the facts and make the hard decisions. And a spiritual response is to do the best thing for the most people. So I found the beginning of your segment very, very practical and important.
Oh, thank you. And so, again, my condolences to your family. My mother passed away from COVID last year, and we're celebrating her life this week. But really, tomorrow we're having a celebration that we weren't able to have back. We did do a Catholic Mass and a Catholic burial, but we weren't able to really just to sit around and to talk. And so we're going to do that tomorrow. So we were talking beforehand that you're feeling something kind of in kind of a vibe about people kind of being disconnected. So talk about that.
What I've noticed today, I felt a lot of sorrow and sadness emerging. There were several situations with people in my life coming up, but also collectively, as we see what's happening in Afghanistan and around the world, there's just so much. In one way, it's like there's karmic settlement happening, and in another way, when we're going through things, we can suffer a lot depending on the way that we look at that situation. But a lot of the times when we're going through that kind of a settlement or that kind of a situation that feels very negative, we're going through a lot of suffering. And so for me right now, I'm feeling like, what can I do in my life on a day-to-day basis to take care of myself so that I can be there for all those souls and all the people vibrationally, verbally, otherwise, who are going through something that they can't see themselves outside of it right now. They are in the thick of it, and it's really, really hard for them. And so all of those of us who are in a good place right now where we're not suffering, it's our duty to be there for all of our family and friends and all the souls in the world and send them love, light vibrations, because so many people need it right now. And I just think that is what an angel is. You're there as God's helper, as this person who wants to see, okay, where can we help? Where can we help bring some healing or some love in this situation?
And we are all out of time. Boy, time flies when you're having fun. First of all, thank you for your love, your friendship over the years. I really just appreciate you so much. Thank you, Vivek, for providing technical support. You married a very good man. And, if you go to mypresentheart.com, you'll find out more about the work that Christina Vivek Du, mypresentheart.com. I'll give you more information about that. Christina, thank you for joining us
Thank
this
you,
evening on
Michael.
the Fireside Chat. Let's do this again sometime.
Yes, you're amazing.
Oh, thank you. You are
Appreciate
absolutely amazing too. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Bye-bye. All right, time for us to go. Wasn't she wonderful? MyPresentHeart.com is where you get more information about her work and her coaching and all the things that they do. Well, listen, it's time to go here. Again, we are here for you here at New Thought Media Network. If you're going through an interesting time with all the stuff happening, please call us for support. Please write us at prayer@ntmedia.org. We are here for you. I will be back on the network this evening at 10:15 Eastern. I will be leading prayer for all of us here on the network. So please join us back tonight. So from all of us to all of you, we just wish you a very pleasant and wonderful week.
Thanks for joining us this evening for Friday's Fireside Chat with Pastor Michael Mangus. Join us again next week at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain for more spiritual conversations for today. For more information and replays of past shows, please visit the New Thought Radio and Media Network's Facebook page. Until next week, may God bless you richly and abundantly.